Okay, it's all ready to go.
Okay, so you can do roll call.
Yes. So Member Banks,
Present.
Member Hewitt, Member Rochelle,
Here.
Member Hanson, and Members Wigglesworth. And you have a quorum.
Okay, and can we go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
Of the
United
United States of America,
States and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all. All right, thank you.
And Chairperson Banks, I'm just going to make an announcement in regards to making a comment. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, this meeting is live streamed and closed to in-person public participation. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, please dial 916-875-2501 to provide contact information. On the day of the meeting, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred to the meeting to make a comment on specific agenda items or off-agenda items. Callers may sign up until public comments are closed for a specific agenda item. For a written comment, send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes my announcements.
Okay, I believe we can go on to what's next on the agenda.
Okay, so item number 1 is going to be development and approval of the 2021 District Community Engagement Project.
Okay, so I had sent out an email a few weeks ago for each member to submit 3 items that you are thinking are a priority for Sac County for this year. I had a call with Sue Frost a few weeks ago, and she made this recommendation that we all submit something and then we could vote on it. So I only received a response from Tobrin, and his recommendation was that we do like a virtual cafe, right? But in a discussion when we met last week or the week before with Vance, Rochelle mentioned, that people may be zoomed out, right? Are tired of the virtual events. So if anybody else has any recommendations, I'm happy to take those, and then we could vote on them at the next meeting. As things start to open back up, maybe we could do something in person, of course, following all guidelines on max capacity of wherever we were to do it. So Eric or John, do you have anything that you would like to bring up that you think we could focus on for this year as a project?
Yes, I spoke with Rochelle last week, and I apologize for not submitting stuff in writing, but
that's okay.
I thought it might be a good idea, depending on what the budget allows for this commission, to maybe designate a website through the county's, the Sacramento County government site, where a veteran could click on our commission and a website be produced, which would allow links to everything a veteran could possibly want to know about benefits and claims and support groups. I mean, I've looked at a lot of websites, other than this form, and they've become very creative, where, for instance, let's say I go to a golf website like USGA. You can go to all different types of categories or divisions or whatever they may call them, and I can look up history. I can look up how to apply to a tournament, all kinds of different things. And my feeling was, wouldn't it be novel and nice, similar to what the Veterans website is like right now, the Veterans Administration, but where we focus on the Sacramento County area, and a veteran could go on to the website through either, people that help them or through their phones or whatever, and they can get an answer just about anything they want or how to get the answer. So I don't know if I was clear about that, but I thought might be a nice project.
Okay, so is your recommendation a website?
Yes, within the
Okay.
Sacramento County's website, like for instance, if
Okay.
you go right now and log on to DMV, then they
Right.
have all kinds of what they call online services. And then
Right.
people can go and download forms. They can get, check on occupational licensing statuses, all kinds of things like that. Well, that's what I think could be very useful in this modern, world to a veteran that might say, hey, I'm not sure if there's any support groups like that. Are there any American Legion, offices in Sacramento County or whatever? Well, go to that website and, that's the Veterans Commission, and type in American Legion, services or whatever, and boom, up would come links to who they could contact. In other words, kind of like centralizing everything into one place.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So let me just add to that. I like the idea, John. And I think if along with that, we could do something so that when a person did a search to look for these services, this website that you're talking about would be, somehow optimized or promoted. And I don't know what the government limitations are, but most businesses, pay for placement. I would like to, explore how the government gets, better placement. So when a search takes place, they're directed to the right place.
Yes, I think that's excellent. I think they're called mega files or mega something or other, because I've dealt with that legally sometimes, where in fact people will pay to be at the top of a query, and the query may have nothing to do with them. And that's how I've gotten involved to it legally, where I get a client calls up and says, I found out if I type my business name in, my competitor comes up in Google search as the first. And I'm, and then there are remedies for that, by the way. But I agree with you. That's an excellent idea.
Okay, Eric, did you have anything that you wanted to submit?
So, I mentioned this before, but anything that we can do to focus on, homeless resources, how do we, improve whether it's training for the homeless or awareness of how they can engage, ultimately, to get them, in a better position in terms of whether it's mental health, which, homelessness is, mental health is a significant component. So I don't have specifics on how to do this, but I would like us, as a board or group to spend some time, I think, dialoguing, brainstorming, and, finding some areas that we can, support homeless veterans in a better manner.
Okay, thank you.
Sabrine,
Yeah.
this is Rochelle. I had spoken to Dale a little bit earlier, and he wanted to put in an idea of a one-stop shop for veterans in Sacramento County, like a physical location they could go in and get, connected to VA benefits like what we do in our office, the mental health services, the employment services, and all of that. I did explain to him that I did have a meeting with William Franco, who is forgive me, I'm going to probably mess up his title, but there's a group in Sacramento that's been here for a while, Veterans Board, and he is the current sitting president of that. So he had set up a meeting probably about a month, maybe a month and a half ago, and Matt Sacedo from Congressman Ami Bera's office was there, and he's the current sitting chair of the Community Veteran Engagement Board meeting. There were several other people that attended the meeting, and one of the big sticklers for that project was a member of the Senate Veterans Advisory Commission brought up the point that when you try to get nonprofit businesses plus government resources together in one location, it creates a lot of issues that they have to figure out how to remedy in order to make that happen. And the fact that there's already so many resources in Sacramento County for veterans, and they felt like maybe we needed to look at either promoting, advertising, getting the word out about those other resources for our veterans. And on the note of a web page, just so you guys are tracking, and I'll get to that in my updates as well, but John mentioned a website for the commission, which I think is a great idea. But we are in the process of updating our county VSO website as well. So we will have a lot of those resources on it, and it'll probably go live by the end of the week or early next week. So just so you guys are tracking that too.
Thank you. That's interesting that that's Dale's idea. That was when I spoke to Sue, that was, that's what I told her. And, she's like, Sabrine, that's basically a huge dream, right? Because of the money, the resources, and all of that it takes that to happen. And I hear what you're saying, that they're saying there's a lot of resources in Sacramento, but they're all over the place. And nobody wants to drive to 20 different locations if they have 20 different things that they have to address as a veteran, right?
Agreed.
And I know that there's other cities that have done it, that have one-stop shops. So I'm happy to look into that and see how they made that happen, right? I mean, there's so much space out at Mather that isn't being used, or at McClellan, or anywhere, and to put everything in one location, I think veterans will come to do that.
I think it's so as well. And yeah, a big piece of that is going to be the money, and then the coordinating. What resources do you put there? How do you vet them?
Right.
There's a lot of moving pieces to that. So probably a good model for that would be LA County, because they have the big Bob Hope Center where they have multiple floors of services available for veterans, from legal assistance to VA benefits to anything you can possibly imagine in there.
Right.
So if we wanted to look at that, I can get in touch with their director and figure out, where did you start? How long did it take? What did you have to do? And kind of look into that a little bit more for you guys.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great start. And we don't know what we don't know, right? So I think if we continue to push the issue until somebody at the ultimate top says no, I think so. I mean, we're the capital, and we're all over the place, right? And if LA can do it, I mean, Sacramento's on a lot smaller scale. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, I would like everybody, to be able to vote. So, Rochelle, maybe if you can get that information for next time. And then we'll be able to vote. Hopefully the rest of the members can be on the next call and we can vote on those. So thank you for the ideas, John and Eric as well. I did ask about budgeting. I know, John, you had, talked about budgeting, and when I asked you, what is our budget? Well, we don't have one. So essentially, money would have to come from the different districts, or we can fundraise.
What does fundraising look like?
You said, what does fundraising look like?
Yeah.
So essentially, as a commission, right, we would come up with a plan, whatever we would want to do to fundraise. And that's how we would have to earn the money for whatever, the big scale project is that we're trying to do. Kind of like nonprofits, fundraise. I mean, I don't know all the legalities as a board. I'm sure there's, restrictions. So I would have to find out. But those were the options that she provided.
Well, I do know that, and I may have mentioned this, it was probably like 20 years ago when I was on the Sheriff's Advisory Council for the Sacramento County. And the board back then voted, we didn't even request it, but they voted to give a budget of $10,000 to that advisory board.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it was ever spent or whatever, because, that wasn't our, mission to worry about all that. But they didn't have any problem. And with reason, I don't think it would be,
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask.
I don't think it'd be that difficult, because if they've got money for climate change and things like that, I mean, I'm going, wow, okay. But so let's just ask.
Yeah, I agree with Eric. We can ask, right? And maybe route it through Vance Rochelle.
And by the way, the only thing that I think the budget is needed for is to pay somebody to create the website. And I actually have a website for a thing that's a private matter of mine, and it's not that expensive. And there's a lot of, a matter of fact, you'd find a veteran that knows how to create websites, and
Yeah.
and I'm sure that they would do it on a fair basis and reasonable and things like that. So that's the only thing I could think of as far as.
You might have to pay for the search optimization that I mentioned as well.
Right, and like I said, I don't think those things are that expensive, but I may be, totally wrong. But
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can ask. Worst they can say is no. So, okay.
and the other thing, think about it. Let's say we do create all these links with, let's say, the American Legion, VFW, Vietnam veterans, whatever the different things. They may pay for the advertising aspect of, them being mentioned on the website.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Great. This is great dialogue. Thank you. Okay, we can move on to the next agenda item.
The next agenda item is going to be update from Sacramento County Veteran Services Officer.
That would be me. So what I brought is our performance measures. So we've actually seen, we're starting, well, more than starting. So February, you can see our total activities dropped pretty significantly. But if you look down at the money that we're bringing in, because we're still putting money in veterans' pockets. So the claims that we are filing or that we filed previously, we're going back and claiming all those awards and making sure that we're keeping track of those. So, there's an explanation for the drop in our activities. One, our lobby's been closed since last March. Two, we moved. We just reopened to the public on February, was the end of February. I think it was like the 22nd or so of February that we reopened to the public. And so people are still trying to figure out where we are, because I literally just had to update our Google address. So now if you search for us in Google, the correct address should actually pop up in there. And so we're also getting less veteran referrals from the welfare bureaus as well, because they're doing, those lobbies were closed. So they're doing intakes over the phone. And so the questions aren't being asked, did you ever serve in the military? And they're not sending out those forms. So we're getting less of those forms for the Medi-Cal cost avoidance program. So we're not able to connect to those veterans. We were doing mailing out the driver's license form. So we lost the initial face-to-face with those veterans where we could ask them, hey, have you ever, filed a claim with the VA for any disabilities? We could screen their DD-214s and assign them to a vet rep immediately versus having to go back and call them. So, and then in addition, the fee waivers have dropped off, which is a natural dip this time of the year. But I also have concern that the dependent fee waivers will probably not pick up like they did last year, because a lot of the campuses are still closed. And from my understanding, a lot of our veterans, they don't want to go to school virtually. So the community colleges are seeing a dip in enrollment of their veterans. And I don't know how that's going to affect, the dependence of veterans, if they're going to want to go to school online or not. So we may end up seeing a dip in those numbers as well. But during this time, I focused on some training with my claims reps and claiming awards. So we're really trying to focus and hone in on the quality of work that we're doing rather than the quantity of work. So that's where we're still putting a significant amount of money into our veterans' pockets. So, oh, and we had our audit by California Department of Veterans Affairs just got finished for us because for the first time in 25 years, they found 0 discrepancies on our work. So it's been pretty amazing to be able to actually spend the time and focus on the quality of work that we're producing rather than just slamming claims at the VA. So
That's fantastic, Rochelle. Congratulations. That's
thank you.
huge. That's amazing. You know, and I know your office has done a huge turnaround in just, you know, the few years that you've been there. So I appreciate that, but that's something to be very proud of. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I am super proud of that. I miss our veterans coming into the office and chit-chatting. You know, they're starting to come back, which is good. So, you know, I'm really focusing on making sure our customer service stays top notch and that we're not losing veterans for reasons that we shouldn't be. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for us. As I mentioned, we're updating our website as well. Hopefully that will go live. So we're incorporating a lot of the VA websites, some fact sheets, links to forms, things like that that they need, frequently asked questions, because our website was not up to par as it should be. We are limited by the Department of Human Assistance and how the website can look, but it will have a whole lot more information on it than it used to. Hopefully, you know, I'll put a link for you guys on there as well, you know, and a blurb about the Veteran Advisory Commission. And some other, and we have other resources on there as well for our veterans. So hopefully it'll make it easier for them when they call. We can say, hey, if you have access to the internet, go to our website and you'll see this. I really let my clerical team run with that because they're the ones that answer the majority of the questions for our veterans during the day. So my lead did a phenomenal job in restructuring it. So I hope that you guys will check it out when it goes live, and I'll let you guys know what date that will be. And then we're so close to automating the veteran referral process from the welfare bureaus. And when that does happen, it should streamline that process, and hopefully we'll get more of those rather than less. So we'll kind of cross that bridge as it gets closer, but I'm hoping that will go live by May at the latest, so we can start to see how that's improving our numbers, if you will, for the number of veterans that are referred to us. And then the last thing is there's a couple of events coming up, and I have a flyer for one of them, and I was texted today about another one that's popping up, and then Melissa Washington also told me about a boots and ball gowns and a run for the Women Veterans Alliance, which is coming up in May, I believe. This event's coming up on April 7th. It is a virtual event. It's a webinar, and it's to highlight that April is Sexual Trauma Awareness Month. So VA Healthcare at Mather, the Women's Outreach Coordinator is putting this on, and it's supposed to provide some information and resources on what military sexual trauma is, how it affects people, whether male or female, and provide some resources for help for them if they need it. So registration is required, so the flyer is available if anybody wants it in the website, or you can reach out to me and I can get you the link to register if you need it. I did talk with Phil Rios, and he was a little upset that there was nothing being planned for Vietnam Veterans Day. So I believe that's on March 29th. He's trying to get something together for that. So as I get more details, I'll make sure to pass that out to you guys. It probably likely be a virtual event as well this year. And then Volunteers of America, they had a mini job fair that I attended. I actually was able to see 2 veterans in person there, one helping with a claim and one I did a intent to file for a claim for. And they're supposed to be doing another one of those in April. I don't have the date yet. And then they want to do a 2-day event, stand down event at their location in June. She didn't have an exact date, but they're going to provide the dental services, the medical services, employment services, and then they asked us to be there as well, which of course I'm going to be there. And that, I believe, is pretty much it. I follow a bunch of groups on Facebook that are veteran centric, and one of them is a women who served past and present, and the current Mrs. Northern California is a veteran herself, and she is very interested in, and her platform was the well-being of women veterans. So I connected with her, and she's very interested in participating in events that are going on, whatever, doesn't have to be women focused, but she wants to get out there and help fellow veterans as well. So I'm connecting her with some resources as well. So, and that's pretty much everything I have going on. It's a lot right now because things are starting to reopen up and our veterans are starting to come back in, and I'm super excited about it. And I think we're going to be doing some big things in the coming year. So that's all I have.
Great. Thank you for the update. Does anybody have any questions for Rochelle? Nope. Okay. I think that was it on the agenda items, right?
Now we just have comments from the members.
Okay, great.
I'm not seeing any hand raises. So it looks like there's no comments from the members. And there is no verbal public comment at this time for that item as well. And the next item would be the comments from the public. And there are no verbal or written public comments from the from the public at this time.
Okay. So we have a few action items that we're going to look into. We'll vote on what our project will be at our next meeting. And that's all I have. So we're going to motion for the meeting to end if anybody else doesn't have anything else.
I'll make the motion in the meeting.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
You guys have a
guys.
good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.